Welcome back to our QuickBooks training. In this video, I'm going to walk you through invoicing and customer payments. So if you recall, you can click on that plus new icon to quickly get to this invoice option here under customers. And you also can come here to receive a payment. So let's talk about what an invoice is and what this workflow would look like. So we use an invoice when we are going to allow your customer or your client to pay you in the future. So you would select the customer's name. If you've already added the customer here in QuickBooks, it's going to default to pulling in their email, their billing address, or whatever information that you've put in. If it's a new customer, you can just click on Add New and put in their customer display name. So I'm just going to do sample customer, sample@gmail.com. Put in a fake phone number, whatever information that you want to put in. You also can make customers a sub-customer. Now, this doesn't make sense in every scenario, but I have used sub-customers, for example, when we've had rental properties where we have one address but multiple renters who each submit rent, for example. So it makes sense when you might want the sub-customer transactions to roll up to the parent. Otherwise, just skip that. All right, we can put in a billing address. Just making one up here. You can put in any notes you want or any attachments. So sometimes what I might put in here as an attachment is an engagement letter with a bookkeeping client. I'll put it right here in the file. All right. I don't usually put anything in for primary payment method or terms, but you absolutely can. If you give different terms based on the client instead of just overall for your firm, you might want to put those in here. You also can do customer types. And again, these are areas that you may or may not need to get into. If your customer is tax exempt, you can put that information here as well. And these opening balances, even though QuickBooks puts them all over the place, which makes you think it might be a good idea, I never recommend using opening balance. There's always a better way to enter opening transactions. So we're going to click Save. So now we've got our sample customer in here. And we're going to choose our product or service. And you may be thinking, well, this looks familiar. Yep, all of the forms in QuickBooks pretty much look the same. You'll know what you're working in because up here it says invoice, and then our last video it said sales receipt. So, and it's the same thing. You can add lines, you can clear your lines, you can add a subtotal, which is interesting. So if you wanted to put, let's say we have concrete and pump here. Let's just do this here. And so then again, we could add a subtotal. So if for some reason you wanted to break this out a little differently, or maybe, since it's an invoice, we wouldn't assume that the client hasn't already agreed to this. But in an estimate, this could be useful if it was like, if we do, project A, or if we do projects A and B, then they can see it and kind of decide. All right. So again, we have the discount option, and you can always do a percent or a value. And then you have your sales tax options, and again, you can do, you can choose your sales tax, or if it shouldn't be taxable, you can just come up here and uncheck these boxes, and that will turn the sales tax back down to 0. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead, and I never click Save and Send. You could though, so if you are invoicing your clients in the moment, you could click Save and send it right to them. But you also have the option to use Save and New, Save and Close, or Save and Share Link. I want to show you this one. This one's pretty cool. So when you do Save and Share Link, you actually should be given a link that your client, you can send it to them and they can just click the link to pay. And I don't know if it's just having issues because we are in the sample file that it can't give me the link, but when you're in a real file, it's definitely an interesting option that you can share a payment link instead of them actually clicking to pay the invoice. Now, once you've created an invoice, and so remember, if we click the magnifying glass, we can see that we just did invoice 1040 to our sample customer on 12/10 for $215. Now, let's say that customer has made a payment to us on the invoice. We have a couple of different options. You can do plus new and click receive payment. And then you can sort by or search by sample customer, so you can search by their name, or just for fun, Let's say we couldn't remember the name, but we had an invoice number. Maybe they wrote us a check and they put the invoice number on it. So you can see here our invoice number is 1040. So if we click Receive Payment, Find by Invoice Number, we can search for invoice 1040, and that pulls up our sample customer and the invoice here. Now let's pretend that the payment date, I'm going to date this for tomorrow because the invoice was dated for the 10th. So let's just pretend they're paying on a different date. If they pay by check, for example, you might want to choose check and then put in that check reference number. If they pay by card or cash, you can pick whatever payment method makes sense and put that in here. And if there's an applicable reference number, go ahead and include that. Now, like I mentioned in a previous video, I always use undeposited funds. Now, what's funny is the sample company says undeposited funds, but Intuit did recently change this from undeposited funds to payments to deposit. And so it's funny because they don't actually have payments to deposit in their own sample file. So that might be a little bit confusing for you if you're trying to find this undeposited funds account and you can't find it. It might be called payments to deposit. All right, so you want to make sure that the amount matches what's on the check. You want to make sure that the correct invoice is selected. If there were multiple invoices being paid, you would check the box for all of the invoices that are included, and then you can hit Save and Close. And that is how you create an invoice in QuickBooks Online and receive a payment. Now, I just want to show you here, if we go to Sales and we go to Customers, we can search here for sample customer. And we can see both of those transactions have been posted here. So you can see the invoice and you can see the payment. If you need to edit them, you can click on them from here and just click View Edit or Edit. You also have some other options if you want to resend it out, if you want to share the invoice link, if you want to void or delete or view activity. So view activity is kind of fun because you can kind of see what's happened and if it's been viewed, things like that from view activity. The other thing that we can do with an invoice, let's say that this is a monthly recurring charge and we want to do this every single month with the clients. So you have, if it's just going to be one time, you could just duplicate it. So if you only need one more copy of this invoice, you could duplicate it. But if you want it to recur every single month or at a fixed interval, you can click Edit and then come in here and click Make Recurring. And so you can choose to do scheduled reminder or unscheduled. If you know for a fact that the same invoice is going to happen every single month or at a recurring interval for the same amount, I just go ahead and do scheduled. You can decide if you're going to do it a few days in advance or if you want it just on a set date. You also have the option to automatically send the email out to the client or to print later. So I never print anything. All my clients are virtual. So I'm going to click automatically send emails. Also, if you track unbilled charges for your clients, you can automatically add those to the invoice as well. So if there's things that you track like postage or printing fees or just there's little things like that that I've seen attorneys, they keep track of and they bill for everything. So if you're using those delayed charges, just click the box here and that will add them to these recurring invoices automatically. Now you have 4 intervals to choose from: daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. You can do the day. You also have first, second, third, fourth, or last. I personally like to do the specific date, right? So maybe the 5th of every month. And you can put a start date for when this is going to start happening. Now you can see here, it's copied this invoice that I've already created. And so all I have to do is hit Save Template. And now I've created a recurring invoice from the invoice. If you ever need to check those recurring transactions, just click the gear icon, click on Recurring Transactions, and you can see here's our sample customer every month. If we want to skip one, we can. If we want to delete it, if we want to pause, duplicate, or use, all of those options are available to you here. So I know this video is just about invoicing and receiving customer payments, but you will notice throughout this course, I'm going to show you some things over and over and over again because repetition is the key to really learning and mastering QuickBooks Online. And my goal is that you will have seen how to do all of these transactions so many times that you can think through click by click how to do anything you need in QuickBooks Online.